It should be pretty clear by now, and hearing these stories of these products, that consumers want more than just a product. They want an experience, they want a story, and they want to feel like you're part of your brand. And at the same time, as I mentioned yesterday, consumers also want to create their own narratives online. So the question becomes, as a brand, how can you move beyond having a simply transactional relationship and enable this two-way dialogue and deeper engagement? For online platform BuzzFeed, the answer was Tasty. No, not actual taste, although as we've heard, that's very important, but more so a new platform that helps brands be part of larger content-based experiences. The platform has since taken the success and parlayed it into different physical products, including a line of products and foods sold in Walmart. Here to share how Tasty is utilizing content to generate returns and how you can do the same with your own content is Talia Halperin, the head of brand management for BuzzFeed.
Well, hello, everyone. So yes, I'm here to talk about BuzzFeed and Tasty. And before I get started, how many people here know BuzzFeed? Great. How many people know Tasty? Amazing. How many people saw a Tasty video today? Fantastic, and we'll get into more of that later. So Tasty is the internet's favorite kitchen. Our content is digitally native, but it's designed to create human connection. So if you don't know Tasty, for the two of you in the audience, it looks like this, and it can be found on Facebook, on tasty.co, pretty much anywhere where content is consumed. And what we're going to really go into today is how we took that content and created a commerce business out of it. So to kick us off, we're just going to watch this semi-quick video that sort of just shows you our style and our way of shooting content. Great. So that is actually a little bit different from a traditional Tasty video you're probably used to seeing, and that's actually how we launched our partnership with Walmart for our kitchenware. So the cool thing about this video is every kitchenware item that you saw in it is something that we sell. And doing something like this really sort of sets the paradigm for how we merge our content and commerce. So we really take what content's doing well, and then we figure out how to create commerce that drives that forward. Whoops, that's going to play now again. So just to backtrack a little bit and let you know how sort of Tasty started, because it's pretty non-traditional, it started as an experiment, and this is BuzzFeed and Tasty, so you're going to see a lot of these GIFs or GIFs or whatever. But it started as an experiment, and a lot of people think that looks like this, very formulaic, very well designed, but it's actually more like this. And there's a lot of failures and a lot of learnings and a lot of things that we really needed to figure out as we built the content up. So About 4 years ago, Facebook started experimenting with video, and as BuzzFeed and as a digitally native company, we really wanted to get in there as well. So we started figuring out what are these BuzzFeed formats that we can apply, like hacks and lists and things like that, and turn them into video. And the things that did really well were really low-touch food videos. People just love watching food. We all do. It's what connects us. So we saw a signal there. We launched Tasty as a Facebook page, and within 1 month, we had over 1 million likes. So we said, all right, there's something here. There's some signal. And then we rapidly decided to expand it into vegetarian, into junior, into all these international brands to really kind of figure out how far this Tasty thing can go. And it went really far. So around 3 years ago, BuzzFeed got into the commerce business. That's the team that I started on. And we started figuring out how do we go from internet to table or phone to table and take all of this content, all of this digitally great, beautiful things, and give our audience something that they can touch and hold and really fulfill our mission to teach people to cook. So now we're the world's largest digital food network. We do a ton of different things. We have shows, now it's Instagram, it's everything, and we have really great stats. So I think the two important ones here are that 1 in 2 Americans watch Tasty on a monthly basis. That's huge. That means half of this room and half of everyone in the country is consuming this content. And then in terms of qualitative feedback, 9 in 10 people that are commenting are tagging someone else. So it's not just a passive sort of watching for 3 minutes and then moving on. There's an active action that follows after that. People want to share this with their friends, and even if they're far away, be able to share through food. So when successful, our content really transforms the cook. So we have a couple different ways we do this. Our content is inherently social. So like I just mentioned, it's something you want to share with friends. You don't just want to sort of watch it and keep going. You know, we see a lot for our date night or for girls' night, movie night, all of these things. It's emotional, so it's about food, so it sort of stirs up memories or things that feel really good. And it's educational. It actually teaches a skill. It doesn't just exist for the sake of existing. And then we really simplify this, and people watch our content for, we like to say, 3 different categories based on these findings. For recipes, obviously, that's the main sort of in the DNA. For inspiration, so to figure out how they can sort of get out of their normal comfort zone. And then most importantly, for joy, for just that feeling that you want to feel good or you watch something that feels good and you just can experience this element of joy. So in shorter terms, what this distills down into is food is magic. People want to connect, and that's really hard to do right now. And cooking and baking is tough. It's really complicated with all the different, really the food landscape that exists right now can be really daunting and intimidating, and Tasty was a way to be really accessible. So then fast forward about a year later, keep running studies. We're a data-driven company. Things are really great. And we learned that we were inspiring real-life action. So people were not just watching our content and cooking it. They were using the ingredients and using the different things that we recommended. And interestingly, media consumption corresponds. It doesn't cause, but it corresponds with grocery purchase behavior. So nights, weekends, when you're consuming content, it's a good time to go shopping. And we were able to translate this to our brand partners and give them Tasty's mass scale and build these partnerships where we included mostly CPGs into our videos to kind of reach that awareness that we had already established. And then we got this really cool stat that 2 in 3 viewers had actually made a Tasty recipe, and they had done so within the past week. So they weren't just, again, following this journey of cooking and using the ingredients and maybe sharing with friends. They were actively and continuously cooking these recipes. So we were like, okay, we have an obligation here then to continue this and to really help them cook these recipes, because we know that for this new generation of millennials, things are hard. So we wanted to be the people who help them. And we wanted to do this through shopping, because BuzzFeed has innate shopping vertical in its DNA. You know us for our listicles, 24 things for the elephant lover in your life or whatever. So we wanted to translate this to Tasty and really apply it to food. So we first turned our Facebook videos into cookbooks. We launched this book within 30 days from conception to being on shelf. We own the whole process end to end. It was a customizable book where you pick the recipes. Maybe some of you even have it. And because we sold 100,000 in the first 30 days, which is huge. So we're like, okay, great, this is working. Then we wanted to get people actually cooking our recipes and get data on how they were doing that. So we launched the Tasty app for Tasty's second birthday in conjunction with the One Top, which is a smart induction cooking device. It syncs with the app, so it helps you cook the recipes and tells you what to do step by step. It was named a 25 Best Invention in 2017 by Time Magazine, and was a really great product to figure out what recipes our audience was craving the most. And then pretty recently, a little over a year ago, we introduced over 100 kitchenware SKUs into Walmart. So this is an all Walmarts nationwide. It's cookware, bakeware, and gadgets, very utility-based, very functional. And these are all the different items that we use the most in our videos. So if you want to cook like a tasty chef and develop that persona, these are the ones that we use the most. And then we started, of course, actually using them in our content. And that's what propelled the marketing. And of course, we made things like emoji cookie cutters because why does that not exist? And then this licensing business that we developed really in partnership with Walmart really expanded. We have a whole line of Tasty cookbooks, which now, thankfully, we are not owning the whole process for. They are now in partnership with Penguin Random House. We have a new one coming out, which is Tasty Adulting. Tasty Every Day is on shelves now. Highly recommend. We launched Tasty Ice Cream, so we took our favorite Tasty recipes and made them into 4 SKUs of ice cream. We launched Spices in partnership with McCormick. So these are individual SKUs that you can buy on shelf, and then also a direct-to-consumer spice kit. This is pretty recent. We have now meat in the game. We have these sort of Tasty in a bag meal kits, as well as pre-seasoned meat. We launched Kitchen Electrics in partnership with our friends at Cuisinart. We also launched baking based on the holiday season and things that we know are really Instagrammable. And this is coming soon, but I wanted to include it because I'm very excited about it, which is Tasty Wine, because who doesn't need tasty wine? So the thing about all of these products, which are really overwhelming and really a lot to do really quickly, is they're all really functional, they're all utility-based, they all serve a purpose, and they're all about just sparking that sort of fun, Instagrammable element in the kitchen. So this quarter, this is something that's really exciting, we launched online grocery pickup in the Tasty app. So everyone coming off Black Friday and Cyber Monday knows that order online, pick up in store was like the big thing this year. So we have that in grocery style. And how it works is you watch a Tasty recipe, you hopefully download our app, or you already have it, which hopefully you do. You can add all the ingredients from the recipe straight into your bag, and you can take things out, put things in, add more things, and then you can pick it up curbside later that day. So if you haven't done this already, go home and do it. It's fantastic, and really gets you a full meal at an accessible price point. But what we really care about is how it does, and it performs really well. We have a great click-through rate, conversion rates at 11%, and the part that's exciting for me on the brand side is that people are ordering more than one recipe. So again, not a one and done, they keep going. And why it works is we sort of created this mini funnel within the funnel. So we have our big mass Tasty engine. We can reach people. We know how to reach people. Once they discover it, they can purchase it. We've made it a frictionless experience for things to just be able to pop into the cart based on the content you're consuming. And then it's super easy just to check out and get cooking. You get it that day, so you're taking action that night. And we know with digital media, we want things immediately. So of course we put a little tasty spin on it. So if we can't just continue to make the most popular recipes in Pickup Today, I think, are like all chicken based. So we want to figure out how we can sort of put that little magic spin on it. So we do this by really capitalizing on what our audience loves, which is non-traditional holidays. So retailers are really good at the traditional holidays. They got it down. They know what works. And we on the digital side are really good at figuring out these other moments where we can surprise and delight. So we have Valentine's Day, recipes for that, grilled cheese day, meal prep, Taco Tuesday, Cheat Day, Friendsgiving, Pie Day, all these little moments where Tasty can really capitalize on a shopping experience that doesn't exist right now in the market. So then the real question comes to, can we do both? Can we create content and can we create commerce? And the answer is we can, and we do this in a lot of different ways. We have interactive videos where you can create your own recipes. It's really driven all by recipe content. And so we really think the recipe is having accessibility, having action, and having something social. And the three things that our audience looks for, that hopefully you can apply, that we know it works for our mostly millennial audience, is being inspired by something interesting online, making it really easy, and this is super tactile. Our audience just doesn't like mess. They want things that are not messy. And instruction, with a little N on the bottom, because that's where it is. And instruction is just that it's sort of like a trusted friend or a big sister that you know you would cook these recipes with. And then how we figure out how to apply these modern approaches to retail is we identify the market, we develop these personas, so in these magical holidays and things like that. We make a frictionless experience, so a lot of user testing. We define our value prop, so is this something that needs to exist, or are we just creating this for the sake of creating it? And then we drive awareness through our large marketing engine, and then we can follow a traditional funnel. And then we just add the tiniest bit of tasty magic to it. And that's it.
This will come sit down for some chats. Don't forget that if you guys have questions, we've already gotten a couple, please submit them via text or tweet or email. All the information is on your agenda. So one thing I've heard from brands over and over is that, despite creating this content, it's really hard to break through the noise online. And that when you don't have the power of BuzzFeed behind you, when they're creating this content to try to power their commerce, they just can't figure out how to get it out there. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice on when you guys were starting out, how you wound about getting that social distribution?
Yeah, I think, and this is probably an infuriating response, but a lot of it was sort of by accident. When we did videos that were really well constructed, really advertising-y, like there's one that I'm in that's like a talking head video, and I'm like, I'm gonna be viral. It was not good, and our audience really didn't appreciate it. And they didn't care about like the watts of the one top or anything like that. They just want to see how it's cooking. And that kind of stuff is what worked for us, because logistically, and this is the less infuriating response, it's about the shares. You need people to be able to share content and be able to not just like it, but share it and tag people, and that's what helps sort of propel the flywheel.
So what makes your content more shareable? Is it that they're friends, they want to cook it with them?
Yeah, it's about these sort of moments of really, these like micro moments of date night, movie night, girls' night. Like that's where we see the biggest signal, and that's where we see it with even our products like the cookbook. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy you this cookbook, and then let's cook something out of it for girls' night next week. So there's an action that comes from having that emotional reaction.
And how do you recommend brands figure out what will authentically resonate with their consumers and content? Is that data? Did you guys just A/B test a lot of different things?
It is data. We are a data-driven company, and we use our data a lot. What I personally use is pouring through Facebook comments at 2 a.m. and really listening to people and seeing what they want. I'm probably not supposed to say that, but that's sort of what's been the most helpful for propelling this forward, is looking and seeing what the common threads are. We have this amazing engine right in front of us. It's 24-hour feedback, and it can be such a pain for a lot of reasons, but it's also the best immediate feedback, and if we do something wrong, we know right away.
What about, one thing I was discussing with a brand yesterday is a lot of the products here need to do a little bit of education about what they are, because maybe they're a category creator, or maybe you have to educate a little bit on how to exactly cook them.
Yep.
Do you have any experience connecting back products that need education to specific content?
Yes. So this is interesting because my hypothesis, the one top, for example, is super complicated. It's a pain to explain. It's smart technology. It's sous vide. It's like all these crazy things. And we did this video that I mentioned before that was like really educating people about the product that I thought was like so good and so well done. It was like 10 minutes and beautifully shot and really amazing. And again, it didn't do well. And so we were like, all right, we just wasted a ton of time and money and like false ego. And then what really worked well for us is user-generated content. So getting it out to people, however that meant, sending some for free, getting some to reporters, having people unbox it and review it, and watching real people set it up was way more effective than, our producers or our engineers talking about how they created it.
Awesome. And so what about content that gets people to actually act at the end? Like watching something's great, but then clicking buy or following someone's Facebook page is a whole nother step.
Yeah.
So how do you get people to take action?
I think it's tricky because it's different for every platform, and people are just tricky. Like if we were trying to market this to robots, it would be so much easier because we could just like follow the algorithm and target them and all these things. But people are weird. You might, love one food one day, and then the next day you like hate chicken or you're a vegetarian. Like it's a complicated world. So what we really do is sort of run the gamut of figuring out these different identities that we can cater to, like the busy parent. That's someone that we know is going to click buy on chicken and pasta and broccoli and really simple one-pot recipes. And then we know sort of the 20-year-old in their first apartment in the city is going to click more on the viral unicorn cupcake situation. So by running the gamut, we can get both of those people.
Now, we did have one question in that right now your products maybe skew a little bit more conventional. For this crowd, they're curious, will you be moving more into the natural food space as well and natural food retailers?
Yeah, I think the very interesting thing about the new generation, so post-millennials, the next generation, Gen Z, is that they care so much more about the ecosystem, and they care about things that are eco-friendly, and they care about what they put in their bodies. And we're paying really close attention to that, because if we are sort of, Tasty's known as the millennial brand, and if we don't get ahead of figuring out what's next, then we're in big trouble, and we want to lead the way. So our recent research on Gen Z is really about having that sustainable, healthy, natural life. So we're excited about that.
So you guys are on the right path.
Gen Z, they have so much money.
That's what's really important. Also for brands, how do they, besides building your own products, how do brands engage with Tasty was a question we had. Is there the opportunity to partner on videos or work with you on content?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways in. So there's sort of really endemic brands like CPGs that we can partner with, pretty like no-brainer-ish kind of thing, and that can be through an actual branded partnership, like something with like Cookie or Chips Ahoy or anything, and it comes into a video and we show how to use it in a recipe. And then what's really exciting about how Tasty works is if our producers just gravitate towards a really great product that looks really beautiful and is really delicious and lives up to the standards, they'll just use it and it'll go viral, and you won't know why this product that you sell is suddenly, being shipped everywhere and not having any time on the shelf because it's just getting bought. And it's simply because someone used it in a video.
So can they ship samples to producers?
I mean, yeah, you can ship samples to editors, to producers. They use them. If they love it, they use it.
There we go. So when, you guys have a whole staff that's working on this content, that's discovering new products.
Yep.
But when you're a small company, I find that sometimes the idea of creating content is just overwhelming when you look at the list of everything you have to do. And yes, partnering with companies like Tasty is one way to kind of outsource that work. But how else can you make content kind of part of your everyday life as a leader, especially if maybe you're more operations focused as a CEO or supply chain and marketing is not really your skill set?
Yeah, I think that is a very good question, because that's sort of where I even fall, as more of an operational person. And I think the good news is that the trend that we're seeing is really going into that low-touch, organically created content. It's not so much about all of the cameras and all of the different ways you can shoot something. It's about just capturing those everyday moments, and things like Instagram stories and TikTok and all of these things. It's all organic. You don't need a producer. You don't need an editor. It's just about having like a really good phone and being able to have really good timing and really good instincts about what will do well on social.
So back to that concept of following your gut, kind of.
Yep. Yeah. And it's not, I think it's the same thing with like Gen Z wanting different sustainability items and natural items. They also want things to just feel really real and not feel overproduced. And I think we learned the more overproduced something is, the less it's really going to have any impact.
And I like that you guys do this overhead shot often that just involves hands. And I was talking to a CEO that actually turned their social media to never feature whole bodies.
Yep.
Because they found that when you just feature part of the body, the consumer authentically feels like they're part of the content and they're engaged in it. Have you guys found a similar thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that our core is in the hands is really important. It's funny because then we'll also get a ton of comments of like criticizing people's hands, and it's very strange world of hands. But I think that being able to put yourself as it's almost like having a narrator that's off film, like a Morgan Freeman type who's just talking. It's like that, except in digital media. So I think the hands are really good. I think we've expanded only recently into showing faces and having tasty creators and tasty talent because of industry trends and influencers and things like that. So we do now have shows that more show people's faces, but the content that always does the best and that we get most excited about is the hands and pans.
And I think that's important to note because if you are, a CEO of a company and it's just you probably have hands.
Yep. Yeah, anyone can do it. I mean, my hands have been in there. Several people who I won't mention hands have been in there. Most people can do it. And even if there is like a thing, like a situation, we like to show different disabilities and different differences and different things where it's like, how do you cook this if things are not like 100% the way we always do them? So that's interesting to us.
Now, you mentioned you're more operations focused. How hard, a little empathy for our audience, how hard have you found it to go from content to like physical products?
So it's interesting because my background before BuzzFeed is more on the physical product side. So that is what I understand the most. And honestly, when we were doing like the cookbooks and like the factories and having to like figure out packaging and turn things on and turn things off, that's my wheelhouse. The content part can be harder because it's so, you can't just like make changes on the fly. It's out there. But there's a lot of similarities in how they're both created.
And how did you go about, another topic we've had a lot is picking those right retail partners.
Yeah.
So when you guys are launching new products, how are you thinking about your retail partners?
It's very interesting, I always say, because we don't have a roadmap for this. There aren't many digitally native brands who have had such a big presence at retail. So this is somewhere where we really rely on data and knowing that where Tasty's audience is and where places like Walmart are, we found some crazy correlation between how many Tasty consumers live, within 5 miles of a Walmart. And since we're all about accessibility and all about ease, it's something where the values really kind of lined up in terms of everyday low prices and being able to provide these tools and just having access to it. Whereas we're based in LA and New York, we don't really it wasn't about where we would shop or where we would go or all these things. It was about where the Tasty customer is.
And I loved how you said with these retailers, you're celebrating non-traditional holidays. Is that something that brands can replicate as well? Because, when you talk to retailers, they have very specific promotional plans around big holidays, and you have to plan that out pretty far in advance. But maybe partnering with some smaller holidays gives you the leeway to get in at different times or interact with the consumers in a different way.
Absolutely. I think that's been sort of like a little bit of like the secret sauce because you can do things digitally that you can't do in retail. Like Walmart isn't going to devote a week to Pi Day. It's just never going to happen. And I think the first few times I walked in there being like, we're going to celebrate Galentine's Day, they were just like, what are you talking about? And so it took some convincing and really education, but there are ways where retailers, it's great because we don't have to worry that much about traditional holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like it's good. People know about it. They're already cooking. It's how can we create these other little moments in their lives.
And it sounds like really about a topic that came up a lot yesterday. It was about creating these moments of discovery. Mm-hmm. How do you guys go about deciding where those moments are going to be?
It's really audience-led. We'll look at what's trending in previous years on Facebook, on Google, on all these different things, see what our audience is interested in. As our audience gets older, it went from more those discovery moments being around graduation to maybe being around bachelor and bachelorette parties and things like that. So we really pay attention to what the dialogue is. We have a Tasty community page where we sort of focus on, okay, what are people talking about? What are they interested in? And those are our discovery moments.
I love that idea of community page because I think that's also something that brands can implement pretty easily and connect with their greatest advocates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are the brand ambassadors. Those are the loyalists. Those are the people who are going to, throw out all of their cookware and buy blue and red and all the brightly colored cookware that they never know they wanted, and the people who will talk about it to their friends in real life, but more importantly on social media.
Well, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Yeah, thank you. This is great. Thank you.
Did you enjoy the video? For more from NOSH, hit subscribe and ding the bell.